Cool. So I don't remember the names of these. I don't really care. We're going to talk about this in terms of a 3DD position. So we'll do this with, man, because realistically, I'd like to have like a third map, but whatever. So for the first one, we're going to have single DD per team. We'll have this one be a double DD per team, and then we can extrapolate from there. Okay, so we'll do that. All right, destroyer positions. What happens? So you've got a destroyer on this side. You've got a destroyer on the enemy side. How does this work with a single destroyer? Okay, option A. Your single destroyer goes up to what is effectively the contested cap. If the enemy destroyer matches it, then okay. It turns out you've got equality in terms of where DD placement is. Both of them are contesting both of them are working on the contested cap, and you've got safe cap, which most likely gets taken by something, and you've got safe cap most likely taken by something. Because there's not a destroyer, you need a destroyer to push. So let's go ahead and make that note. DDs allow pushing. Now this is not fundamentally correct. There's more to it, but having a destroyer giving you the ability to lead yourself in a direction gives people the safety and security to be able to move forward so they can go from point A to point B. But if nothing else, if they know that the enemy DD is somewhere else, then some cruiser or some battleship might grow a pair of balls and be able to move up in this single DD instance. But what happens if this actually changes? What happens if... That's not what I wanted. I wanted it to go away. It's also not what I wanted. Come on, go away. Oh, do I have to other click? There we go. Okay, cool. We did that. We did the thing. All right, so what happens if instead you've... This like color 2 shit's freaking me out, man. All right. So what happens if instead you've got, because this actually happened to me. This happened to me in a ranked game earlier today. Your destroyer goes to the contested cap. The enemy destroyer goes to the safe cap. What happens here? Good news is your destroyer is likely to take this cap, because without another destroyer to mirror it, the only thing that threatens it is going to be some kind of radar, is going to be some kind of plane spotting, or frankly just somebody going crazy YOLO, just charging into the cap, which probably ends up resulting in them dying. So the good news is you probably end up taking these 2 caps if your destroyer goes to the contested. The bad news is DDs allow pushing. If you don't have a destroyer on the safe cap, but the enemy destroyer is over on the safe cap, then this destroyer gets to go wherever the hell it wants to be able to torp and torp and torp and torp and shove your team back, because they don't have a response. If they have radar, they have a response, but they might not have radar. You don't have control over your teammates. You don't have control over your situation. If they have hydro, then you might be able to dodge some of the torps, but if you don't, realistically, you're just setting yourself up for health loss while the enemy team is able to barrage this position, drive you back, and then walk over and take this cap. Well, what happens when they take this cap? If you look at it from a different, if you look at it from this angle, you've always got an influence line. Your team has an influence line. So at this point, if you've got your team down here doing this stuff and you're up here and you got your team doing this stuff, your influence line is basically like this. This is your front line. This is where you expect to hold. This is your map influence. Well, if the enemy DD is on a side and they can push because they don't have the ability to kill the destroyer, your team backs up. Your influence line becomes this. So what happens on this map that makes that a problem? These big ass islands, you basically have a walled fortification while the enemy team has to somehow swing open water pushing to try to get one of these caps. And if you're in a ranked game that's uncoordinated, it's going to be very hard for your team to do this. So in this instance, you've got a safe cap, you've got a contested cap. Where does the DD go? If the DD goes to the same place as the other DD, Great. You mirrored each other. You're equally capable. But if the DDs go in different operations, your team is going to be able to take where the DD goes. Their team is going to be able to take where the DD goes. And there's 2 caps over here. There's 1 cap over here. That can be a problem. Obviously, it's ranked. People can fuck up. They can do all sorts of dumbass shit. In which case, who knows what's going to happen. But realistically, the destroyer allows you to take space. Going into the double DD per team. All right, so you've got your 2 little DDs up here. You got your 2 little DDs down here. If they mirror each other, same thing. If we have mirroring, one goes to this cap, one goes to this cap, and vice versa. One goes over here, one goes over here. If they mirror, DDs allow pushing. That means you're going to draw this influence line, and it's going to stay stagnant because the destroyers are not pushing. They're not going to be able to. If they do, if they try to push, they're going to butt heads. They're going to run smash into each other. They're going to start gunfighting, and who knows? Maybe one of them dies. Maybe they both fuck off. Maybe they smoke. Maybe they bail. Maybe they whatever. But until they decide to reach that cataclysmic wham where they slam faces against each other, you have this stagnant you have this stagnant line, and it comes down to attrition, trades, positioning, where your ship is going so that they can threaten crossfire or angles and yada yada. It comes down to like all this different play so that you're able to take more, deal more damage than you take with your amount of influence, and preferably drive the enemy out so that you might be able to take this contested cap. So in a mirrored situation, your ideal situation is to be able to take the safe cap and the contested cap, and that is what leads to the win. Obviously, if you're playing for kills, you're just playing for kills. You murder everybody, who cares? But in terms of like what you're actually trying to do in the situation of a mirror, you're looking for your safe cap and to over time win the contested cap and use points from that. Okay. What happens if it's not a mirror? What happens if it's different and the testicles go away? What happens if both destroyers, let's change this to red, and well, I guess we've got green and red, so if I just get creative with my mouse clicking, what if 2 destroyers go here, but 1 destroyer goes here, 1 destroyer goes there? It's going to look like the same thing that happens over here. The superior amount of DDs push, or at least should. You might be in a torpedo destroyer where you're just like, fuck, I can't take a gunfight, I can't push, I can't do anything. But even still, if you're in a torpedo destroyer, you can still flush torps in this direction, and you can shove people out of this location to allow advancing. So if you've decided to double your destroyers over here, this guy's going to come down, and all of a sudden he's going to get surprise motherfuckered by 2. 2v1, he dies. Realistically, does it happen that way? Is it always going to be that way? No. Could there be an outplay? Sure. Could you smoke and get out? Sure. But realistically, 1v2, 2 is going to win, and then the enemy team pushes. In which case, if both DDs go over here, your victory condition is that you take both safe caps, and once again, you're going to draw this line of influence, and you're going to use these islands to bunker up and to hold. All right, let's look at it the other way. Let's pretend that instead of going over to the right, the DDs decided to go to the contested cap. Once again, I like the 2-color thing, but like it's kind of trippy. What happens if the enemy goes over to the contested? Theoretically, if there's 1 DD here, and let's pretend that the cruiser and the battleship don't just fucking gape you when you come around the island to kill it. But if you use your 2 and you come over and you murder this destroyer, and then you go dark because you're destroyers and you do that. You pop smoke, you live, you do whatever the fuck you do. You take this, but here's the problem. The DD has to push. Okay. How are you going to push into the defensive barrier? Because if both destroyers go over here, the DD pushes. This is so trippy. Okay, 1 destroyer, no destroyers. The DD pushes. You end up taking this cap, you end up taking this cap. Same thing, only in reverse. So you've got 2 caps in a small section of the map, you claim both, and then they have to siege you because you have island cover. You have a bunkered up defensive position, which you can lock down and force them to bleed health as you come. So let's extrapolate further. Let's cut back even more, and we'll say triple DD for per team. This gives you a different, what the fuck? Whatever, I don't care. We're gonna make this go away because, like, what the hell was that? So let's look at a triple DD per team. All right, so we'll make another mark. Green, red. Same thing. You've got 3 different options now. You've got everybody goes one side, in which case the DDs push. Everybody goes the other side, in which case the DDs take and then have to claim space. They have to wrap around and push. Those are your 2 options. Or you've got this weird third option where you have the balanced deployment. Or let's say this. Let's have them do that, and then this guy will come over here to be the sacrificial lamb. Well, this one goes mid. This one comes over to be the sacrificial lamb. These two stagnate. They don't do anything. One, you know, if this guy YOLOs, he might die and look like a dumbass. If this guy YOLOs, he might die and look like a dumbass. Nothing happens. You assume this stagnates. Okay, you have somebody going mid. This is a flex position. They could flex this way, kill this destroyer, take it, and then flex back. They could do that. It's a flex position. But if this person doesn't flex, or they flex maybe this direction, these two, oh my god. These two still get to push. Why? Because 2 DDs outpushes 1 destroyer, they kill the DD, they take the thing. Then you have to flex back, but at this point you've lost somebody. But then again, maybe they've lost somebody. So it gets much more complex when you've got 3. God forbid if you have fucking 4 or you have 5. Then all of a sudden it's just like it's Mad Max guerrilla warfare brawl-tastic bullshit. It gets crazy. So we've seen what a single is, we've seen what a double is, we've seen what a triple is, God knows what a 4 or a 5 is, but that's going to talk about DD deployment.